Hello, I'm currently sitting in a 2019 Mercedes G550 and I'm in Moab. So I'm in a G-Wagon in the off-road capital of the world. Yes! I'm super excited to be here. It's like two of the coolest things ever. I drove 4 hours today from Salt Lake City just to get to experience this vehicle in this setting. I really kind of want to put it through its paces and just kind of see what it's like to off-road a G-Wagon. I've never gotten to really experience one of these vehicles off-road, so I'm really excited to do just that right now. Okay, so it's about 6:45. I've got probably 45 minutes of good daylight here, but the shadows right now are super awesome. So I'm in this area known as Behind the Rocks. It's mild off-roading. I don't like the heavy-duty stuff so much. This takes you back to a really cool area with a lot of buttes and stuff. So the G-Wagon, this vehicle has full-time four-wheel drive with a true low range. I'm just in 4 high right now as we kick things off here. So the door lock. So that's one of the things that Mercedes opted to not change about the new G-Wagon from the old one, is the super German sounding door locks. They're like rifle bolts. I'll give you another taste right here. It's so sweet. Yeah, this thing is amazing. It's got a 416 horsepower twin turbo V8, 4-liter V8. You've got a solid rear axle. One of the things Mercedes changed about the new G-Wagon was that it now has an independent front suspension, which made the drive down to Moab a lot more comfortable than it would have been in the old G-Wagon that had solid front and rear axles. This stuff is pretty tame, so one thing I'm slightly concerned about here is that this vehicle is riding on Pirelli Scorpion Zero all-season tires. That's an all-season tire, not an all-terrain tire, so I think we'll be fine. I just wanted to point that out though. Typically, if this were my vehicle, or anytime I might be getting a vehicle ready for off-roading, the first thing I would do is put on a set of competent all-terrain tires. They're going to have more aggressive tread and better sidewalls that will be pretty resistant to puncture. This vehicle, on the other hand, tires are less resistant to puncture because they are primarily designed for on-road use. Anyway, things so far here are pretty smooth. This is pretty awesome so far. Here's a little tour of the outside of the G-Wagon. Obviously, despite being all new, it shares most of its design with that of the outgoing model. You've still got these fender-mounted turn signals, iconic fender-mounted turn signals, round headlights, although they have an LED component now, this kind of triangular-shaped hood, and it's still basically a box on wheels with awesome off-road capability. As I mentioned, this one arrived to me riding on Pirelli all-season tires. I think they should be okay off-road. The one thing that I am happy about is the fact that this vehicle is riding on 19-inch wheels. Most G-Wagons you'll find come on 20s or 21s or 22s, but this one is on a very subtle and understated set of 19s, and that's because this is pretty much a base model. The G-Wagon starts at around $125,000. This one stickers for about $130,000. The only major option that it has are these adaptive adaptive shock absorbers, rather, that have done pretty well so far. You can see it looks like they've got piggyback reservoirs there. That's this thing, and your electronic component is obviously those wires right there. Yeah, and there's a solid axle back here. Spare tire still mounted on the rear, just like it's supposed to be. Yeah, All right, I'm excited to get back behind the wheel and keep going here. Listen to how awesome this door sounds. So cool. Now that we're inside, a quick tour of the interior. You see some influences in here from the S-Class, including these vents and this long single pane, I don't know, flat plane, whatever you want to call it, hood that encompasses the infotainment screen and the gauges here. And like on the G-Wagons of the past, this one still has 3 locking differentials, center, rear, and front, prominently displayed on these buttons. Back behind the wheel now, and we are soldiering on. So one thing that becomes evident once you're off-road is that this is a heavy vehicle. That said, it doesn't feel, it's not like it's lumbering over, love it. It's not like it's lumbering over these obstacles. It holds gears. It's got a 9-speed automatic transmission, so it's holding on to gears despite the fact that I'm not even in low range. So it's got plenty of low-end grunt, even in high range here. Some gas here. Oh yeah, this is awesome. Engine note is really, really great. Just like on the last generation G-Wagon, which had been on sale since the 1970s, this one has exhaust pipes that exit just underneath the outboard rear seats. So rather than coming out the back, they come out like kind of just behind me. So I feel like that accentuates the engine note, and as a result, it's even more satisfying. You know what? Let's put it into sport mode. Got a little louder. Yeah, like I was saying, those exhaust pipes that let out much closer to the cabin, I want to say, accentuate the sound and make it even more satisfying to floor it. The suspension's really nice. Giving it a little gas here. This is kind of a sandy area. Oh, yes. Oh, man. Yes! Yeah, I love it. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, baby. Woo! Okay, so, no, they have not watered it down. Holy crap, this is fun. This is so much fun. This is amazing. This is so awesome. Alright, everything I've done so far has been in four-wheel drive high. Now I think I want to give low range a try. So I found this sandy hill here. I don't know if you can see. I'm a little wary of the tires, especially in this situation. But I think it's steep enough that I could roll back down if I can't make it, but I'm also pretty sure I'll just be able to make it up on the first try. And if 4 low isn't enough, then I've got 1, 2, 3 locking diffs to try out as well. All right, we are set up at the base of this hill here. Right now I'm in 4 high, so I'm gonna go ahead and shift into 4 low. So to do that, you put the vehicle into neutral, and then you press this low range button on the center console. And it says low range on. Yeah, I think we're gonna be okay. I'm just gonna go for it without any of the diffs locked. So here we go. This feels even more like a military vehicle in low range. Okay. Yeah, that was painfully easy. Here's a fun little G-Wagon Easter egg. So I'm in low range four-wheel drive. And it does say low range right here, but when you shift into low, you also get this little G here for Gelände, meaning off-road. So despite the fact that I'm not really keen on going into any kind of terrain right now where I need the locking diffs, I still want to show them off. Okay, so to lock the differentials, you first need to put the vehicle into 4 low. So to do that, we'll shift to neutral. Push our low range button here. We get the indicator that says low range on, and we can also see right here that we're in low range, and you also get the G for Gelände. And now we go back into drive. And now we can turn on our diffs. So you start with the one labeled number 1. That's the center diff. You always start with the center. There you go. The yellow means that it's active or trying to engage, and then the red means that it's actually engaged. So that means this is engaged. We'll also put on the rear. The button sticks a little bit, but yeah. So the rear is active. I think we might need to drive a little bit though for that to actually come on. Let's see what happens here. There it is. So the rear one is on. Maybe it just took moving and then pressing the brakes a little bit. So we'll turn the front locker on. So active, and then I bet we need to drive. There we go. So now all 3 diffs are locked and we're in 4 low. So this thing is an absolute off-road beast right now. So if you've ever driven a car in low range before, it's obviously the gearing's super low. You get a lot of torque, you get a lot of power at the low end, but there's really not much top end, and it's for off-roading. So yeah, we could basically, if we had the right tires, that's kind of the one caveat still, I'd basically feel comfortable driving over just about anything. So it's starting to get pretty dark, which means it's probably time to wrap up this little video. First and foremost, in terms of takeaways, this is just an incredible vehicle. It's an old military vehicle that Mercedes-Benz has managed to turn into this like ultimate aspirational purchase. And I say this a lot about unique cars. I'm so glad that this thing exists, and that Mercedes has remained true to the roots of the original G-Wagen in redesigning this thing and keeping its solid rear axle, its off-road credibility, its 3 locking differentials, its true low-range four-wheel drive system. So it's yes, I'm so glad that this thing exists. In terms of interior, yeah, it's $130,000 Mercedes, so yeah, it better be nice. And it is. There's lots of inspiration in here from the S-Class and from other high-end Mercedes-Benz road vehicles, while still remaining somewhat rugged. You've still got the grab handle right here. You've still got the 3 locking differentials prominently displayed in the center of the center stack. And you've also got all the latest infotainment features, etc. In terms of driving off-road, very few people are going to do what I just did. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody takes their G-Wagon off-road, whatever. I got one for a week here, and I took it off-road, and can say for sure that this thing is plenty capable for the kind of off-roading I enjoy doing, which is driving at medium to fast speeds over long, flowy dirt, rock, and sand roads, so to speak. I didn't really do much rock crawling today. I don't enjoy that, and that would have put the vehicle at a little more risk than I was comfortable with, especially given that I'm out here by myself. But 3 locking diffs, great approach, breakover and departure angles, and a great low range 4-wheel drive system. Yeah, you can bet that this thing can tackle rock crawling as well. In terms of competition, this is one of only 5 vehicles on the market with a locking front differential. The others are the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, and then obviously the Jeep Gladiator Rubicon, the Ram 2500 Power Wagon, and then the Chevy Colorado ZR2. It's a trucky SUV with a solid rear axle. To me, that kind of elicits thoughts of the Toyota 4Runner and the Lexus GX 460. You know, obviously the 4Runner, you could buy 3 4Runner TRD Pros almost for the price of your average G-Wagon. You could still get 2 GX 460s for the price of this vehicle as well. But nonetheless, you know, I think it's kind of cool to have a Mercedes competitor to those vehicles. I'm going to go ahead and call them, you know, this vehicle's closest competitors, because there's really just nothing else like it on the road. And yeah, you know, I mentioned a little bit more. The suspension's great. It's not branded Fox or Multimatic or anything like all those other suspension systems are that you'll find in the Toyota TRD Pro line and the ZR2, blah blah blah. But it's just as good. So I think that tells you that you know, a lot of that's just marketing, and that you really just need good engineering for a good suspension. High-end vehicles like this and the 200 series Toyota Land Cruiser, yeah, you can bet that you're getting a great suspension that will be plenty plush off-road. So I think that about does it for our purposes here. This is probably the coolest car I've ever gotten to drive in an environment like this. I don't really know where to go from here after this, because this was just a really special experience that I'm lucky to have had. So anyway, that is the Moab G-Wagon review. Thanks for watching.